Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Purposeful Conversations with me, Emee, here in the Pamicode Facebook community. Now, I know that we've been in lockdown for 7 weeks here in the UK, 8 weeks, 9 weeks in other parts of the world. And during this time, I know that so many of us have been in a very reflective mode, thinking about our life's purpose, thinking about happiness and what happiness means to us because it means different things to different people. And so today I invited a very special guest who's going to talk to us today about intentional happiness. So let's all welcome Julie Leonard. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Hello, so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us, Julian. I know I've heard from so many people that during this time in lockdown, in quarantine, they got to spend a little bit of time reflecting about life, reflecting about happiness, and so on. And I know that you're a happiness expert. You've been doing this for like 30 years now, being in the mental health field. So before we get into that conversation, tell us a little bit about yourself first. What's your background and why are you so passionate about this topic?
Sure. Oh, I just thank you so much for letting me talk about happiness. I just love this topic. And of course, you're right, it's a challenging time for happiness, but I do think there's so many positives in what's going on right now, and I can't wait to dive into that with you. But let me just introduce myself. I'm Julie Leonard. I'm originally from Scotland, and I currently live in Munich, Germany, with my Italian partner and our 5-year-old son. Um, and I'm really fortunate. I have been working with women and working in happiness for 30 years, as you said, gives my age away. But I'm really fortunate. I've been able to follow a life's passion. It it may be surprising to some people who, when you get to know me and you hear me here, that I was a very shy and anxious teenager, child, teenager, right up into my 20s, early 30s, really affected by limiting beliefs, a lot of negative thinking. I grew up with a very depressed and anxious father that had quite an impact on me, just by virtue of his behavior and how he was. It really led to me internalizing a lot of things that weren't true, but I believed like I wasn't good enough, that I didn't have anything to say. He was often in his own head and not really responsive to me, but I interpreted that
You
as a child as something
internalized
wrong
those
with me.
beliefs.
Yeah. And so play it is no surprise that I study psychology. I had to make sense of what was going on. And it was just the place for me to be. I just loved it. I mean, even when I was at university, I really struggled to even go meet friends in the canteen because I was too nervous to walk in a room by myself. That's how much it affected me. But I was really drawn to psychology. And from there, I started working in mental health services and I loved it. I really wanted to be a psychologist like yourself. But I started doing some voluntary work and started going out there in the voluntary sector and really getting out in charities and getting into people's homes. And I loved it. I loved that freedom and that ability to
That
really get in and work
engagement
with
as
people.
well.
So much real, true engagement. And I guess there was two things there. One was that I could relate to a lot of what the women I was working with were feeling and thinking because I myself had been struggling with those limiting beliefs and a lot of that negative talk. So I could really relate and empathize with what women were telling me. But through my psychology studies and through the work I was doing, I was really learning all those amazing tools of how to transform myself, but also the women I was working with. And every time I'd go into someone's home and talk to them, I'd say, what is it you want? Like we were very much not just about how to be less depressed and less anxious, but more about like more than that, like a real
Having a
quality of
vision
life.
and aspiration.
Yeah, so really about recovery, like not just like you're no longer as depressed or as anxious, but really about not just existing but living. That was my passion, to go a stage further.
And to
And when I
thrive.
said yeah, and to really thrive, and that was, I'm going back over 20 years, that's not really what people were doing. They were really talking about like you're
Clinical.
managed,
I
yeah, right,
know,
that
like
clinic,
in with psychology, we've had this transition basically, in the 90s, early 2000, with the movement towards a more positive psychology, because before that it's more of a clinical. It's more like, you need treatment, there's
Yeah.
something wrong with you, we have to fix it. But as the field progressed, we're actually looking more into the positive aspects, that instead
Yeah.
of just actually looking at a person as a broken entity, but you
Hmm.
look as a person as a whole, and how can we help people to thrive and flourish, not
Yeah.
just to heal but actually to blossom as a human being. So that's what
Absolutely.
interested you with positive
Yeah,
psychology.
I was really seeing this. And every time I said to someone, what is it you want? They would say, I want to be happy. They didn't say, I want more money. They didn't say, I want a big house. They said, I want to be happy. And I said, well, what does that look like? And I was breaking it down, like practically, emotionally, socially. What does that mean? And I guess that was coaching, wasn't it? I didn't
Oh
know at the
yeah.
time, but that's what I was doing. And what I really saw was that people were really labeled and really told, this is who you are. You are an anxious person. You are a depressed person. You are whatever, like you've described that, kind of almost like there's something at fault with you. And I didn't really believe that, because I was hearing people's stories and the experiences that they'd had. And it felt so much to me very reactive.
Mm.
They had gone through incredible life events. I did a lot of work in trauma. That was my specialist area. I was working with women who'd been affected by trauma. And so, they were telling me these horrific scenarios, these stories, and, telling me what's happening. No one had ever really talked to them about what they'd been through. And therefore, like, no wonder they felt the way they did now. And so I really felt like, you know, people were just labeled in a way,
Mm.
rather than like, these are human beings, people that, have
Help them to dream and
experienced so much.
aspire and flourish.
Yeah, and so I was just like, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be proactive in your life, not diminishing in any way the experiences that the women I work with and continue to work with have, really not diminishing them, but, seeing that as part of their lives, and seeing that you don't have to be defined by your past, that you can create the life that you want. And this is what's really evolved for me into not just talking about happiness, but really talking about being intentional in your happiness, how you can be much more proactive in your life, not just reactive. And
I
that goes
like
for all
that.
of us, not,
Yeah.
all of us. Like, before this lockdown, we were all incredibly busy, myself included, even though I'm passionate about being intentional. But gosh, I was super busy. I'm an expat. I've got a business, a coaching business, a 5-year-old son. Um, I think often we go through the motions every week, how often
Busy,
do we
busy,
get to,
busy.
yeah, busy, busy, busy. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity right now to just hit pause and really examine, what have we been doing? What do I want? And as we slowly merge, and I'm doing inverted commas with my fingers, into a new normal, because we're not going
Mm.
back to normal, this is an amazing opportunity to reflect on, what do you want that normal now
To
to
look
look at?
like.
What do you want to take forwards with you? You can be proactive. And that's what I'm all about, letting go of the stuff that holds you back, those negative thoughts, those limiting beliefs, and really curating the life that you really want. And I believe passionately it's possible.
Well, I can see that. I mean, you're really glowing, and the energy is there, that you're so passionate about it, that people are not just reacting to the world, but they're actually intentional in creating their own reality. And when it comes to intentional happiness, which is the subject, the topic of our conversation today, why do you call it intentional happiness and not just happiness? What does that mean?
Yeah. Because I call myself a happiness evangelist, which was a name that I struggled with for a long time and came across, and have now fully embraced, because I feel so passionate, as you can tell, about spreading the message that you can take control of your happiness, that you don't have to accept, this is who I am, or this is how my life is. And I wanted to talk even more specifically, because it's about being happy, of course, and we all love happiness, but it's to differentiate it in the way that we are consciously working on our happiness. It's a very deliberate act, that, as I say, you're being very proactive in your life, not just reactive. And so we become very clear on what makes us happy, what we want to do every single day towards that happiness, and that we are living consciously and intentionally towards that happiness. So if I could give you like an example to illustrate that, maybe. So for, if I use myself, I've always been fairly healthy, but I've talked a lot about, I'd like to be healthier. Yeah. And last year, I really suffer badly from hay fever, which sounds very silly, but it's so debilitating for me. I really, I couldn't
It's
breathe
hard.
very well. I couldn't
Yeah.
breathe very well. I had a really bad skin reaction. I was so tired with it. I ache with it. It was debilitating. And so, it was a trigger for me to be like, how can I be more proactive in my health? Not just saying I want to be healthier or I want to eat more healthily, but to consciously work on it. So I started working with a nutritionist, and I did a detox program. And every day I consciously work on my nutrition. I'm aware of it. I think about what I eat, what I plan, not in the really, obsessive, boring way.
Yes.
That sounds quite
But
boring.
you
But,
are
just
aware
that,
of
these are
what's
the
you're
foods that
putting.
work for me. So every day I'm like, okay, what am I eating today? What is good for me? What should I avoid? That kind of idea. So every day I cook good food, I eat really well, I think about what I'm doing. And it's that difference between that idea and a general feeling and a much more intentional.
Intention, you're doing something, so it's not just a thought. It is not
Yeah,
just okay, I think this is a good idea, or I think this is what I want. You're actually taking your thoughts and putting it into your reality and being
yeah,
intentional to
yeah,
make it a reality. You're taking steps
yeah.
to make that intention real.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like with so many of my clients, they often say to me, oh, I really love, going to the cinema, but I just never have time for that. Or, here we have these beautiful Christmas markets here in Munich, absolutely beautiful. And so many times people say to me, oh, I love going, but I just don't have time for that. Another year I won't go. And I'm thinking, well, why? If
I
there's things that make
mm,
you happy, how can you work intentionally? How can you, I guess, prioritize them? And
that's
I think
right.
that's something that is really becoming aware. My cat is now
I
joining us. He went.
know, so cute.
This is something that we're often not aware of as we're busy, is that we often do so many things that are habit, or we feel we have to do, we must do, I should do. And we neglect often the things that genuinely make us happy. And here we are in this lockdown where many of those things have perhaps been stripped away. And we're faced with like a more stripped down version of life. Although I know for me, I don't have as much time as I thought I would coming into this. I'm sure you're the same.
Well, yeah, with the business and the family and the
Yes.
house and
Everything. But now we have a chance to really hit pause and examine what are the things that are truly important and make us happy. And I think a lot of us are seeing that
mm,
friendships, relationships are really important, but yet maybe we didn't always make time for those, or with the right people, or make the effort, or there's so many things in our lives. Or like for me, it's having this real quality time with my son that I
mm,
didn't have before. And that's something that I want to consciously take forwards with me,
yeah,
so it's really thinking about like what makes you happy and doing much more
and
of
being
that.
intentional to actually have that. But Julie, here's the thing. What I've noticed is for us, for some people, we actually are aware. We know what makes us happy. But there are those who just haven't got a clue. You ask them what makes you happy, they would scratch their head and they would think, I'm not really sure. I
Mhm.
don't know. Where do they start?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to say, first of all, you start with the happiness quiz on my
Yeah,
on my
go ahead.
website.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because there's definitely areas of our lives that we can look at. And that's what I start with all of my clients, is looking at different aspects of life. I often do like the wheel of life,
Mm,
or ask questions, because there's different aspects of our lives which we know affect our happiness, like where you live and what kind of relationships you have. And of course, money does figure in there to a degree.
mm,
Friendships, social life, so I think, finding a tool like that, a quiz, or, like I call it, the wheel of life, you'll find that. Those kind of ideas are a great place to start, really examining, like, each area of your life. How happy are you in those areas? A great thing to ask yourself is also, like, what did you love doing as a kid? I love that question, because I think we lose sight of the joy that we used to have and that we'd like to have now. Life gets very serious, and we don't always do a lot of things that, a lot of fun stuff. I think a lot of fun is missing. And we often, when we're setting goals, we miss out the joy. Part of my intentional happiness courses is about setting goals and that being clear. So you're absolutely right. You've got to get clarity first on what it is that makes you happy in order to put that into place. And often people set goals and they're all amazing goals, but I'm like, where's the fun in that too?
Where's the happiness there? Yeah. Where's the joy?
There's some fun too. We want to grow and develop as an individual, but there's also got to be fun in there. One of my main things that make me happy is going to live concerts. So that's what I actively started doing. And I don't actually have a lot of people that like the same music as me here. So I go myself, and I go and have an amazing time. And that's what I intentionally give my time and money to, is to go and see concerts, because that brings me so much joy.
Yeah, it uplifts your energy, and and that works for, it might not work for other people, but they have to explore what it is that makes them happy. And if they have limiting beliefs and excuses, if you like, why they can't have that, they can have that vision and find the path how it's going to take them there. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed in because my background is in health psychology, and a lot of research that we found is we have all these health belief models where people intend to do something, and there is a gap between intention and action. So how would you suggest for people to make their intentions into action if there are so many blocks that prevent them from setting their intentions and turning it into action, whether it is the cost, whether it is time, whether it is energy, or whatever it is? How can they overcome those blocks to turn the intention into action?
Yeah, the great news is there's lots of things that you can do in that. So don't be put off if you feel that you're facing those barriers. Definitely clarity is the big one. So start with being clear and pick one thing. Don't start too big. I think people get carried away, and I ask people their goals and they come out with 20, and you're like, no, that's just overwhelming as well. So pick one area of your life where you think that could be improved, and then make it really small. Start with really, really small steps. Don't, to me, it's the same as physical exercise. You wouldn't say, I want to run a marathon and then go out and run a marathon that day. You would, you start to do some walking, you build up to a 5K. And it's the same. So you take baby steps, you break it down into much smaller and very specific goals. So really break it down and make it small. I'm a great believer in doing something every single day towards your goal. There's a great concept called no zero days. I don't know if you've heard of this. I love this. It's actually one that was coined, unfortunately not coined by me, but by a Reddit user. But that idea of, you get to the end of the day and you haven't done anything towards your goal, and you think, oh, I didn't do anything today. And then the next day you skip it again and you think, well, what's the point? That's a whole week gone. And the idea of no 0 days is to always do something, because something is better than nothing. So if you're struggling to get started, do something really, really small. And what I mean by that is, say your goal is to read more and you want to read a book. You might say, I'll read 1 book per month. Maybe that's quite a realistic goal, but you're struggling. Then what I would say is read little. 1 page, 1 paragraph. I know that sounds like, really, Julie, what's that going to do? But you read 1 page every day. At the end of the week, you'll have read 7 pages, which is better than 0. But what we know from this concept is that you will read a bit more, and every day you read a little bit more, and it starts to build that momentum. And
it becomes part of the routine, and it becomes embedded in your schedule.
Yeah, and you get more motivation because you read on a little bit more and you read a bit more. And before you know it, you're building up to reading a chapter, and you read a book and you start to read. And then you feel great because you've done that. You've completed that. So it gives you that motivation. So do something small. It's the same with exercise. Even if you do, 1 second of a plank or one push-up, or one stomach crunch, but it's one is better than nothing. You do one and you go, I did something, and then tomorrow you'll do two, and you build it up. Those are the little steps. But this, I can't tell you the feedback on this. It really makes a difference.
No 0 days. I've never heard of it before, but I think that's powerful.
Great.
Because for some people, when you have that gap, that you skipped a day, that you haven't done what you intended to do, it sort of makes you feel bad. And then the next day it might continue, and then you finally lost it.
Yep.
But if you only have, even if it's just a little bit on the day, at least you've done something, and then you can carry on the next day and the next day. But just have a little bit of something. Don't let the day pass without taking action to reach your goal.
Absolutely. And it's that consistency. That's a key, isn't it? You know that as well. Excuse me. It's the consistency of the work as well. And
yes,
that feels great.
for us, the group is actually called PAME, which is a Greek word that means let's go together. But from our conversation today, it reminds us that first you need to have your purpose, you need to have your intention. A is for action. You couple that with action. You have to have the intention, but you need to act on it. The third is momentum, consistency. Just keep going, keep the momentum. And then the last one is energy, because the more you do it, the more it will uplift you. And practice gratitude as well, that you're actually maintaining the momentum and that you're getting closer to your goals and, to your intention. This intentional happiness, that I love this conversation because, you reminded us that we don't just react to the world. We're not passive recipients of our reality. I think, again, for me, my background in community and health psychology, I've worked with some disadvantaged communities, and there is low aspiration in some communities. It's almost as if they are just receiving the bad luck, that the cards have been drawn and this is what they've got, and this is just what they have to deal with. But actually, when you shift the thinking that, well, actually, no, this is sort of the reality, quote unquote, but I can actually create my own reality. You can create an intention to make things better, but you need to couple that with intention, action, momentum. Keep the energy up and just go for it. There will be challenges, there might be blocks, there will be times when you will feel that it would be quite difficult. But when you are grounded in your purpose and you know where you're heading, you'll keep at it. And with PAME, it's let's go together. Support is really important. What do you have to say about that, when it comes to intentional happiness, the importance of having a coach, a mentor, a support network? What do you have to say about that, Julie?
Definitely. I love your concept, and I think it just encapsulates everything that I do so well. So I love that. I think it's wonderful. But yeah, absolutely. I would also say, like, accountability and support are fundamental. They're fundamental in life, aren't they? As human beings, we are created to form connections and be with others. So we need that support all the time. But yeah, definitely. I mean, as a coach, what I'm doing is helping people stay motivated, to stay accountable, to stay on track. It's so nice when we have people who believe in us, isn't it? Sometimes it's hard to be your own cheerleader and believe that you can do something. We all need people to support us, to say, I believe in you. And there's so much research about when you are friends with someone, or you work with someone, like, say, like a coach like myself, and you trust in them and you feel confident in them, it raises your feelings of hope by like 25%. It's like really high. And we know that if you set a specific goal, and that you set it with an accountability partner, someone else, you tell someone else, your chances of completing that goal rise to 65%.
That's right.
So that way, when you say, right, that you and your friends are going to go running every day, that keeps you going. You put a timeline on that, set a date to it, the evidence shows that it goes up to 95%.
Yeah, because it
So
is so focused. There is a
yeah.
you actually put it in reality already by putting it in your schedule, putting it in your
Mm-hmm.
time, and having
Mm-hmm.
people to hold you accountable. Because even if you put in the time and you don't actually do it because no one is watching,
Exactly. No one
you
knows.
know, no one knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
that actually improves the chances of you actually making it and turning it into a goal. And one of the things that I do, apart from my psychology practice, is I also help authors to write and publish their own books. And what I've
Mm.
noticed is that my initial program was just an online course that you can take. You can do it at your own pace, whatever. um and the success rate there and the completion rate is really quite low. It's really only those who are absolutely motivated who gets to
Mhm.
finish it. So I thought, okay, let me see if I could do a program where people actually come together and we'll have a very specific timeline when you're going to do specific tasks. And what I found is that, yeah, the completion rate actually increased because you have people there supporting each other, keeping you accountable, and having very specific timelines, very specific tasks at very specific dates. It's finite. You know what you're doing on that day. It's not gonna be forever. And you take all these little steps until you finally reach your goal. You publish your book and you're number one on Amazon. So, yeah, so the accountability, the support, having the focus, and setting the tasks, the steps that you have to take to achieve your goal are very important. And what I like, again, with this conversation is you've actually linked happiness with all these conversations that we've had before with goal setting and setting tasks, changing habits and so on. But you're putting happiness as a goal, you're putting it as an intention, and you go for it, and you make it you take steps to achieve happiness.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of debate around whether happiness should be a goal, or if meaning and purpose is more of the goal and happiness is part of it.
Mm,
And my belief on that, and from my experience, is that um, happiness is the overall goal, and
mm,
other things fit into that. Having purpose, because you talk about purpose a lot, having meaning and purpose is so vital to our happiness. I know that from
yeah.
years of working with people, and that's what I help a lot of women figure out, like, what is their true purpose. Many people come to me and they are doing a job, but actually it doesn't really make them happy, because
Mm.
it's a
There's
good job,
no,
but
yeah,
it doesn't feed anything in them. They're misaligned with who they really are. But I do believe that it's happiness is the umbrella concept, and that underneath that there's so many different aspects that we work on. And it's a constantly moving goal, in a sense, because
yeah,
happiness
it
is
evolves.
got to constantly evolve with it. You grow, you change. I really believe in this, and having a growth mindset, that everything
Yeah.
is learning and we're growing. So it's constantly evolving and changing as we go through different points in our lives,
Your
different stages.
priorities
Yeah,
shift.
everything
Yeah.
shifts. But it's just constantly having a focus on, what is it that makes me happy, and what am I doing every day to ensure that I'm doing as much of that as possible. And of course, we're being realistic. I don't live in this happiness bubble and my life is
Mm,
perfect, of course not. And I think one important key about this is that when you're intentional about your happiness, you're working on resilience. And this is
mm,
what's very important to me. Happiness is about being focused on what makes you happy and brings you joy, but it's also about always building up my resilience, maintaining my level of resilience, so that I can cope with whatever happens in life. And I think that's an
mm.
important thing, because when I worked for so many years, people would be like, yeah, but your life's perfect. And I was like, I
No, it's
wish,
not. No,
no,
it's
of
not.
course not.
Yeah,
I'm human and
that's
I
the
have my
thing.
days, of
Yeah.
course.
That
And during this lockdown
I
too, I have my days,
it's great that you actually mentioned resilience as well, because there's a lot of research around happiness and hope and
Mhm.
resilience, and how all these are interrelated. And then it's also related to the psychological and physical well-being, because
Yeah.
when you have more hope, when you have more resilience, that even if life becomes challenging, because there will always be new things that will come
Yeah.
up, new issues. But if you are resilient and you are still hopeful that you have the skills and the abilities to actually overcome this and turn it around, then you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. And there are so many tools that are researched and we know work. And I know from 30 years of working that they work, and what I've done for myself and changed myself. There's so many tools out there. And, it's finding the ones that work for you, pick and choose, create your own little toolkit of resilience. What works
Yeah.
for you? For me, practice of gratitude, mindfulness, self compassion, meditation. Those are the things that I really employ right now. And that's what works for me. That's what really helps me continually evolve and continually support myself, particularly the self compassion. That's a strong
Mm.
one, because I
Especially,
think
oh
we're
yeah,
really harsh
especially
on
with your
ourselves.
background, when if you
Mhm.
had so many limiting beliefs
Yeah.
from your childhood,
Yeah.
self-compassion, the compassionate self-talk
Yeah.
is really
Absolutely.
important. So for people, there will
Mhm.
be different tools that they can use, but
Yeah.
they'll have to explore what works for them. And yeah, I mean, I really love this conversation, Julie. I mean, when it comes to intentional happiness, I'm grateful that you've come and join us today. If people wanted to connect with you and get in touch, where can they find you?
Yeah, please, if there's any way I can support you to explore this concept more and look at how you want to make positive changes in your life to live the best version that you can, then please reach out to me. You'll find me. I have a nice website called julieleonardcoaching.com. You can follow me on Instagram under Julie Leonard Coaching. And I also have this lovely, it's a free Facebook group called the Happiness Club. And there I do lots of inspiring quotes. We do lots of challenges together. I post lots of videos. It's just a really supportive community for women where you can come and meet other like minded women. And I also run an online international happiness club every month. But at the moment, we're doing it every week to provide lots of support to each other during this time. So
Wow.
find me somewhere and join me on your journey of happiness. That would be great.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Julie. That's amazing. And to everyone who's listening or still watching this video, I hope that you found something meaningful, something valuable from our conversation today. For me, the takeaway message is, when it comes to intentional happiness, it reminds me that we're not just passive recipients. We're not just reacting to this quote unquote reality. We can be creators of our reality. We can define what makes us happy. Intentional happiness gives you the freedom to define what makes you happy and do something to actually get there. Be intentional about it. Set all these little tiny steps that you can do every day. Takeaway message again is the 0 day. What was that again? No zero
No
days.
0 days.
No
Yeah.
0 days, that even if it's just a little bit, don't skip a day. Even if it's just
Mhm.
a little bit, to be closer to your goals, go for it. And it will become a routine, it will become a habit, and it will get easier and easier for you. So thank you again, Julie. Thank you again, everyone,
Most
for
welcome.
tuning in. We'll catch up again next time for another purposeful conversations with me, Emmy, here in the Pami Code Facebook community. Until then, take care, everyone, and bye for now. Bye. Bye bye.